Good morning, everyone. I'm Karishma, and I'm one of the co-organizers of Creative Mornings. A quick show of hands to know how many of you are attending Creative Mornings for the first time. Okay, welcome. This is also a very special month for us because we're celebrating our anniversary, and we've completed 13 years of Creative Mornings, so thank you for joining in. Just a quick introduction. Creative Mornings is a breakfast lecture series that we host once a month on a Sunday morning based on a predefined theme which changes every month. And of course, there are global chapters of which Bangalore was one of the chapters. And there are over 250 chapters. So if you've registered once for Creative Mornings, then you can pretty much attend any talk across the globe. We started in 2013. And it is organized by a media production house called Teapoy, of which me and Vishwesh at the cameras are partners, and Varun is part of the core team as well. This is in fact the first ever talk that we did. Just wanted to quickly highlight what it looked like back in 2013. I think like one person, KK, I think you're not in this photo, but you were part of that talk, and there are a lot of us organizers as well. This happened at Jaga when it was still that metal temporary structure, if some of you know. So how we run Creative Mornings is that through the support of local supporters, local partners that we have on a monthly basis. Of course, our main partner today are Fields of View and BLR Design Center. Where we're sitting now is BLR Design Center, which along with Mod Foundation work on a lot of city issues. So it seemed very fitting for us to do the session here today. And yeah, Fields of View creates gamified tools for organizations and other stakeholders to sort of engage with each other and understand wicked problems and problems of the city better. More about that from them directly. But they are they've completed 14 years of being up and running as well. So. And we've actually, as Teapoy, we've engaged with Fields of View in the past, and they've been part of so many organizations that we've also worked with that we were just waiting to see when we can. So we thought this month would be special enough for us to actually gamify the whole session. So yeah, we have a little surprise game that we've planned out with them. And Eat Raja happens to be one of our main partners today.
Thank you so much, Namaskara. Thank you, Karishma, for giving us an opportunity, choosing us local. My name is Raja. I come from this brand called Eat Raja. We are India's first zero-waste juice bar. I think most of you would have tried our bestseller, which is Chili Guava. So the whole idea is we don't sell juices at all. We sell a concept of going zero waste, making everybody realize that my waste is my responsibility. So all of you had the guava, had the juice, ate it, and not generated any waste. So you all are zero heroes in your own self. So I hope the same thought goes to everybody who comes to our outlet. That's our vision. And the Madhur Vada and chutney that you had, so that's another initiative called Amma Madiddu. So it is made by moms. We empower a lot of women. And my mom, in fact, started this Eat Raja. And so we wanted to take this forward. So we employ locally women for small events like this. They make food and give it to us. So next time you want to have home-cooked, mom-cooked, Amma Madiddu food, you can reach out to us. Thank you so much.
Thanks to Candor Concepts, our media team, who is helping us capture the entire event, document it, and put it up for free viewing. And Mudfingers and Zero, the varsity, being our gifting partners. Our global partner is Adobe, who supports us from a really high scale, and then it sort of helps local chapters sustain. You've seen the registration page, but we'd like to thank Adobe for month-on-month support. And of course, our volunteers, Santosh, helped us. And whoever came early in the morning, I think Fields of View are volunteers today. They're sort of collaborators today on the entire session. So yes, and CMBLR is how we get tagged on social media. So if you could help us spread the word, if you like posting, then please do tag us. This is our YouTube page where we put up all of our talks. So every talk that's 115 talks are up online for as a global repository. This was the last talk. So coming to the themes, the last talk was Curate, where we had Deepthi Rao, who's the director of auditorium operations at PCPA. And she spoke about what curation entails and how, I think some of you will remember, whoever came, that it's a very personal journey, not just something you're doing for the city very arbitrarily. And I think it's very nicely linked to what we're doing today also. We're understanding the city from a different perspective and we'll just quickly get to that. So the theme of the month happened to be Competencia, which is basically competition. And we wanted to interpret that as a competitive spirit, which not just puts people up against the city, but actually to get that feeling that we are all working towards something in collaboration to build the city. And that's why we have today, I don't want to take any more time. I'd like to welcome Fields of View to start facilitating the session today. And heading this will be Karthik and Sukanya. Karthik just was totally against us putting up his photo anywhere, so we've not done that. It's the entire team that's doing this today. So over to you, Karthik.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So if this does not go well, don't just blame me. There is a whole team of people who went wrong about everything. But anyways, I'm Karthik. I lead Fields of View with Yashwin, and sort of I have my colleagues here as well. We'll at some point introduce them and embarrass them separately. But yes, so a quick introduction to Fields of View. We'll not talk about the organization again. We're a 14-year-old organization now. We build games and simulations as a way of dealing with wicked problems, which are essentially problems that don't necessarily have a single solution, that require constant negotiation, and most of these sort of exist in the realm of policy making or in poverty alleviation or in sort of public policy conversations. And therefore, sort of, it's a narrow field, but it's a very fun field. And that's kind of been our work for all this while. This is one of the, it's a very interesting time to be playing this game. The game is on constitution values, and you'll see why. Considering all of this that has been happening over the last month, we thought it was a very appropriate game to sort of start playing. So welcome to Solemnly Resolve. We're about to complete 80 years as an independent nation, considering what's been happening around. The question is, looking back and looking forward, do we really, like the values that are enshrined in our preamble and the values that are enshrined in our constitution, have you ever looked back and said, do we hold these values up? Are there new values that we'd like to add? Are these values still sort of relevant to the work to the way that we live and to the work that we're doing? And generally, we'll play through these scenarios as the game evolves. Yes. So we're playing as 4 characters in the game. I think each table has 1 character in front of them, and then there is the rest of you who have the benefit of being the general public, which suddenly has a lot of power, as we've realized. So we'll start one by one. I think group 1, can one of you start reading the profile?
Mini merchant. You're the owner of a medium-sized manufacturing industry exporting consumer goods.
Yeah, okay. I think all of you have 1 card in front of you. You can together come up with a name for your character. We have 10 characters in the name, so it can't really be like a big name, but you can name your group. I'll give you 10 seconds to come up with a name. There's a name they can. Yeah, you guys have name? Yeah, okay. Can you speak your name up?
Bhasha.
Bhasha. You guys have a name?
So we are the professors. I'll read the role. You are a former professor of statistics who believe that strong independent institutions are critical for economic growth.
Your name?
We are the professors.
Just the professors.
Yeah.
Nice.
We're playing the character of a nodal DM. You're the district manager of a district in a metropolitan city. You ultimately hope to become chief secretary of your home state, responsible for implementing all state and central schemes and programs. You always have to rely on collaborations with NGOs and self-organizing groups. We're calling the character's name as Donald Manjana.
Neo-Neta, you are worried about election malpractices and want to improve transparency in the political process. You also want to introduce democratic reforms within the party and hope to become a senior member of government one day.
The name?
Name, he gave it. It's a good- and it is appropriate, Jirale.
Yeah, okay. In the game, each team will have, I think each of your tables have these indicators on them. So essentially the 4 pillars of the nation are government stability, transparency and accountability, economic growth and public support. The better these indicators are, the better your nation is doing. The worse these indicators are, the worse the nation is doing. You all have your own specific indicators to sort of work on. So for the mini merchant, I think economic growth is primary and government stability is secondary. For the eco-profs, transparency and accountability is primary and economic growth is secondary. For the nodal DM, government stability is primary and public support is secondary. And for the Neo-Neta, public support is primary and transparency and accountability become secondary. All of your sort of the rest of the game, you'll have to work with these indicators in whatever form. Yeah? Can we start the scenario? Yes. Money is might, rich get richer and have the governments here. Everyone else faces the death wall. Sounds very appropriate. Yes. So one of the public, if you can read the preamble as it is.
We, Basha, professors, Manjana, Jirale, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, not socialist, secular democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, political liberty of expression, faith, worship, equality of status, and to promote among all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual, the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th of July, 2026, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution.
Thank you. Okay, so we now have a preamble that we've all started with. Your current indicators, as your nation stands today, is that you have some amount of economic growth, very low public support, very low transparency and accountability, and very high government stability. Well, this was true till yesterday. So, but this is where we're starting with. And these are your current roles. With situation 1, we'll start the game. So I can read out. Parliament has passed a new law which states that village communities shall be responsible for protection of biodiversity in the forest. The law also gives village communities the right to convert forest villages into revenue villages, allowing construction, sale, and commercial activity. Your options are, option 1, conservationists argue against the law stating that such a move will only favor influential village communities and also lead to degradation of forest land over time, support their demand of repealing the law. Option 2, a large section of civil society argues in favor of the law, stating that it will finally decentralize governance over land and allow local communities to plan for their needs. Support their demand of notifying the localized governance provisions at the earliest. And option 3 is industry and farmer associations argue in favor of the law, stating that this will enable better food security and improvement of livelihood opportunities for local communities. Support their demand of implementing the law in its entirety. So you have one option of repealing the law. The second is to notify local governance provisions. And the third is to implement the law as is. All of you have about 5-10 seconds to decide as a group which of the 3 options do you favor. And the rest of you also can sort of pick a choice. The rules are that we can only proceed with consensus. So all of you as a group have to agree on one option of the 3. Have you made up your mind? You guys have? Yeah, okay. Do you want to? Yes. Option 2. Have you guys made up your mind? Yeah, okay. Have you all made up your mind? Just 5 seconds. Yeah, okay. Have you all made up your mind? Okay, what is your option 2? Yeah, okay. We have 2 option 2s. 2. Wow, all 4 groups have 2. Have you guys chosen? Do you all have a preference? 2. Nobody feels strongly about anything else except 2? Strong emotions towards 3. Yeah, okay. Everybody, wait, hang on. Everybody is option 2. What is your argument for 2?
Our logic was one, we want the decentralization to happen.
Okay.
The second thing is because you're not clear about the law exactly, we need these clarity and notifying the local provisions. We were leaning towards 3 because we're mini merchants, but then we sort of had an internal discussion and
Change
fixed
of
it.
heart. What is your option?
We're going with option 2 because there is transparency and accountability and there is decentralization of power depending on each local government. So we're going with 2.
Wouldn't 3 also have that?
Sorry, option 3, there is no decentralization, right? I mean, it is.
It is to hand over to the communities.
But I mean, the way we understood is in option 2, there is a overall overarching law and then sort of tailor-made for each locality based on their needs.
That we represent, as in it satisfies you.
Okay.
Okay.
We've gone for option 2 because one, it does favor the people. Our responsibility, the larger responsibility is also make sure that we create a more collaborative environment for CSOs, and we'd like to go with that thing. And also it gives a space for local governance to also breathe and see what it is that they want. Do they really want to convert it into revenue villages? Because the aim is to protect biodiversity, right? So we would, we would support them and help in notifying the localized governance provisions.
Okay, we also went with option 2. Our indicators are public support and transparency, and we thought that option 2 caters to that most because the law favors people, plus it is a little bit specific where it talks about localized governance. So there's a possibility to also create transparency and accountability by having more localized solutions and like an overarching law like Group 2 mentioned. That's why we went with option 2, given our 2 indicators.
Yeah. Anybody feel strongly about any other options? Huh? Yeah.
I intuitively went with option 1. I don't know, I can't reason it out, but it seems more balanced somehow.
Option 1. But then you got bullied.
I didn't want to stick out like a sore thumb.
Central authorities or international authorities before you make the decision. I mean, the decision can't just be the villages, but it has to be in conjunction with international and national.
Doesn't option 3 do that though?
3?
Yeah. You get the associations, you get the people, you get the law, everything together.
No. I think it is very, very economic heavy, money heavy, option 3. Huh? Option 2 seemed like the sort of balanced.
You guys are very nice people. Yeah, okay. Consensus for once. Yeah, okay. So this is the newspaper from the day after. Economic growth takes a hit. Transparency and accountability goes up. Public support rises, but government stability stays unaffected. So, congratulations. We'll move on to the next scenario. Situation 2. Based on complaints of nuisance by traders, street vendors in an old neighborhood have been evicted by the City Development Authority. The area will now be used for widening its roads. Your options are option 1, street vendors and their representative associations argue that they have the right to practice and earn their livelihoods Evicting them will destroy their incomes. They argue that footfalls in the area will reduce since many shoppers visit the vendors who have worked there for over 20 years. Support their demand for reinstating their space for vending and provisions of certificates by the Development Authority for continued operations. Option 2, the Traders Association argue that street vendors do not have a legal right over the land they occupy and do not pay rent. Yet they access prime space in the areas, attracting shoppers. The association argues that this is a nuisance for the shop owners and leads to lower sales for them as fewer vehicle-owning customers can access their shops. Support their demand for a permanent ban on vending in the commercial area and widening of the roads. Option 3, the Development Authority argues that street vending in the area is a safety hazard as it prevents the movement of emergency vehicles. They also argue that illegal occupation of the land causes a loss of revenue to the city. Support the plan of the Development Authority for road widening and auctioning of licenses for setting up a flea market in the area. So your options are demand for reinstating space for vending and provision of certificates by the Development Authority, support the permanent ban on vending in the area and widening of road, and option 3 is the road widening and auctioning of licenses for setting up of a separate flea market in the area. You again have, 10 seconds or 15 seconds to. Yeah, okay. We'll start with you.
We will choose as mini merchants. We choose option 1 because we tend to coexist with the street vendors, and it's good for our business as well. Taking them out will remove our customers, and the certification by the Development Authority will help to reduce the numbers or bring in some recognition for the street vendors. And we can also push for a vending zone accordingly for the street vendors. Yes, keeping in mind the economic growth.
Hello, we are the professors. Our indicators are transparency and accountability and economic growth, which is secondary. We have chosen option 3, support the plan of Development Authority for road widening and auctioning of licenses. This achieves what option 2 also aims to achieve, which is attracting customers for shop owners which are there, but it also achieves decentralization and transparency by the use of auctioning of licenses. And it also increases economic growth of the and of the government as well because of the auctioning.
Yeah, clearly.
The bureaucrats thing is just stuck between this. So the human in us says that, we should go something like 1. The thing of a magistrate that you can't go against the government. There is a thing to implement what has been kind of passed on. But if something like a fair licensing setup can be done through us by including right authorities, a right system, and see that people of a certain privilege don't get into the auction and push this sort of narrative. So in that case, option 3 sort of seems like a doable thing from a magistrate point, where you handle their sentiments of having their place to do their things or sell their bits, but also respecting that the government wants this to be implemented for the safety of pedestrians or whatever that is. And as magistrate, if we set the policies system so that these vendors who've been displaced can come to an auction and find a place. So something like option 3 would make sense.
Yeah. Wait, which one did you choose? 3 or 1? 3.
So we went for option 1. We are the neonatas, the Jirales. We just felt that, we would lose public support if we sort of canvass for road widening, and the fact that there would be the provision of vending certificates would sort of enhance transparency and accountability as well. So our choice is option 1.
Yeah, okay. So we have 2 groups with option 1 and 2 with option 3. What do you guys feel?
I feel for me it would be option 3, simply because that if you have a dedicated area, it eases the traffic, allows the movement of people and the mobile and the automobiles. But at the same time, I would like these vendors to go to be sent to an area which is within the same locality, so that they don't lose their customers that they have been building over the last 20 years. but it's more of a dedicated space, so kind of a middle ground.
Yeah, I think I have a similar opinion. I would go with 3, considering that although, and yeah, not too much in agreement with 2 because the street vendors do get a lot of business for the traders which are there. But then, yes, there is always parking issue that you face because they park within the parking zones as well. So I think 3 is much more balanced. If also, there could be a situation where you give some lottery to, where you can have it where you were there, but only a few people. But then majority people who have come new could be relocated to somewhere, like she said, somewhere nearby where you still have access. So maybe people who are from 20 years will get a slightly more privilege that you could be a little nearer to that particular zone. And so that you still have that same, feel, because nostalgia is always that you want, say if I'm going to a place, I would still want that, oh, my vendor, that chart vendor is there. So some of those vendors could still be there, but the new ones who have come up could be placed somewhere nearby.
I feel like Sridhar, you are bursting to say something. It's very evident is that you don't believe in your group's options.
No. Okay, I support my group's option. And being the DM of this, being the Manjana I am, you can also see that, you have separate, you have laws and acts supporting things like this, right? So we do have like a vending committee which has been constituted to make sure that an area is recognized so that all the street vendors can go stay in there, right? So it's not that we are not going against the line here, and option 3 seems like the fit with the procedures that we do have.
I am disappointed. Because every time somebody said option 3, his face went, no, just say something else. Whatever. But also historically, how often has vending zones been near where they were always? I'm just asking the questions. My job is to ask for this thing. Yes.
Is there an option that any of these at the lower rungs can question the situation that has been framed? I mean, road widening itself, is it viable? Should it be? That's a thought.
I would think that option 3 wouldn't really work because then it would make all of the people who are purchasing things at the market spend more money because there is an auctioning of licenses. People are spending money to have this, use this space. So everything will get more expensive.
Just to add to that, auctioning follows rent seeking. I mean, rent seeking follows auctioning. That's the reason why we didn't go for it, because that's going to be a unintended outcome of doing auctioning, is that people with more power, influence will get priority. And the way, the reason why zones don't work is that we've seen how people behave, right? You're used to, like, if I'm going from my home to an office or home to a destination, you shop on the way. And you don't particularly reroute to go into a zone. And that's the reason why the option 1 works, is because it kind of continues with what, just getting in a little bit more perhaps regulation through licensing, but completely keeping consumer interests as well as the interests of those vending those wares in mind, because zones have not worked historically.
Yeah, so initially when we were discussing what to choose, the idea of auctioning really irked us. So there's a monetary value that when it comes into auction, the highest bidder gets the prize, right? But we want to bring in values of equity. We want to bring in values of not being left out. Just because money can game the system, you can prevent that from happening. So we were discussing on ways that you can make sure that the auctioning is fair. Not the highest bidder, but a points-based system where many points get added and then your overall licenses get auctioned off. It doesn't have to be the old archaic system of like yeah. So also zones, I agree. In a city where walking and mobility is really slower, it makes sense to have everything within 15 to 20 minutes of where you live. So zones can be multiple, not just one. But we also, I didn't say this out, but we can have principles of nomadicism. You don't have to, when you auction a license, you don't have to stay here for your entirety. You can go to the next zone in like 3 months. You can go to the next zone in 3 months. So you're not just static, you're also dynamic. So maybe principles like that can.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Sorry, just a rebuttal to that. We forget the context that it's an old neighborhood. And by that, we mean that it's going to be crowded. There is going to be no open space for creating these zones in that given locality where these people have been vending for the past 20 years. So we cannot forget the context that it's an old neighborhood. It is going to be cramped. There aren't going to be many free open spaces available to create these multiple zones which are being proposed by the DM.
The group just wanted to reiterate that why we are going with option 1 also is because it's not very clear if our shops are also going to be destroyed. I mean, we might be evicted for the road widening itself. So that's why we would still want to go with option 1.
And usually it's the local vendors who are affected by a road widening process, right? So we, as a mini trader or a merchant, we usually don't like that. So.
I mean, I agree with the idea of nomadicism. I mean, when it's an old neighborhood, there are set patterns, the people have been there for long. So I think it has to be more like a trial and error, start, see if it works, because if you look at Jayanagar or Gandhi Bazaar, it's not worked. They built a flower market. Who goes to the flower market? We still go to the pavements. I mean, and there is a whole infrastructure sitting there wasted. So try small, trial and error, I think, is what should work. The auctioning also, I'm not so sure. We said 3, but we are not so sure about it.
Are you changing your mind? That sounds very option 1 like.
No, I mean, when we were discussing, of course, the influence of auction that did came into mind, but only because something has happened historically doesn't have to continue happening. That was the notion that we are building. That's something we have learned over the last week as well, right? So while areas are, like as he said, you can always try shuffling the vendor and see what works, what doesn't work. It's not a one-time solution. It's a periodic like changing of the processes. Just one good example I can give, from North Bangalore, Sanjay Nagara area, you have an 80 feet road and you have a Sanjay Nagara road. 80 feet road only has all the high-end eateries and Sanjay Nagara road has all the street vendors, right? So depending on the evening, the 80 feet road has a higher widened road because cars can flow easily and there's a direct hospital at the end of that road. But on the Sanjay Nagara road, it's meant more for walking. So while of course it has its own flaws, it shows that it can work if you're able to move the system around and you're able to give them the space that they need. So I'm saying it has already been proven that it works.
Just a small point on this idea of that it's the shopkeepers or like probably people who are running showrooms. Those are the organized ones, and those who are on street are inherently disorganized and creating chaos. I mean, in different places, like I've lived in Chandigarh for a while and also in Delhi. So what you see in Delhi University, I mean, of course, the pavements are all crowded and, but a lot of people who are actually want to sort of use those, let's say, either for buying food or stationery or all kinds of things, also are not coming there by cars. And what street vendors are selling is what they can afford. So if all the street vendors went off, we would be buying whatever, like dosas at 300 rupees, right? In each. So it's a lot about that also, right? Sorry.
Feels like I'm making like
an argument for the group. I'm just arguing against this idea of like who is inherently organized and disorganized.
Yeah.
Because again, probably we are I don't know, being in Bangalore, thinking about Bangalore, because again, a lot of people has sort of come in here. Again, if you take examples of markets in Chandigarh, where, like the entire markets, there are parking spaces built, right? And you cannot have street vendors there. But it's same chaos and same disorganization because all the shopkeepers are now getting like 4 cars each, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, but you're talking about Chandigarh, which is the most planned city in India.
Still, it's
Rest of India isn't planned.
Fine.
Give you an example of this place in Gurgaon. It's called Banjara Market. It used to be centralized in sector 53, 54, and then they uprooted it because the people around were like, we can't park our cars. What sort of an excuse is that? Who are you to decide where I get to put up my shop? That's all I can afford. So, change your option, make it 1.
So it looks like you're shifting to 1.
Very simply on the option 3, they said I don't know if they'll evict first and then do the auctioning or auction first and do the evicting, because even if you say that, we'll clean the road, get rid of the street vendors and then we'll get them the zones, what will you do for a year or 2? Or I know at the pace at which we develop, it'll take some time. No one can answer this. Maybe we'll go with 1. They can develop the zones, and when everything is sorted, then we'll go to 3. But until then, let them be there.
Just one more thing to add. What I realized is, of course, I started with supporting option 3. But I also realized that there are multiple parties involved here, right? Like there are shopkeepers, and of course, there are these 4 parties here, right? That we're talking about, these 4 groups. Then there are shopkeepers who are who run their organized shops. Then there are street vendors. Now, and of course, I think at least the community involved in this locality, on this neighborhood, right? I think every part of this community at least needs to have some common ground to come together to think about what is most important for the community. So for example, if safety hazards, needing to be addressed, is something that everyone can agree upon, I think that would be helpful, because I think that is one thing that has, of course, there are societies where everyone comes together for the communal, rather the good of the society, right? Like where everyone agrees upon a few things. So, where a street vendor might realize that, okay, if someone is in an emergency or at least I need to be cognizant of being able to provide that space. At the same time, a shopkeeper, in fact, it's not just street vendors, right? It's sometimes there are shopkeepers and showrooms who also are guilty of letting people park. And so I think there are these things that what is the most important thing to all of us? And of course, what is the most important thing to us individually needs to come second. And also understand what this person might be losing if they lose their livelihood, or how their livelihood even runs, right? So I think it's, the more I think of it, the more I'm confused. But there are few things that seem like at least order of importance of things need to be considered.
So option 1?
I don't know.
Just to add on what he said, I think another important thing would be to make the vendors cognizant of the fact that things were different, when they started off. Things are way different when they are today. The population has increased, the number of cars which come into that area, scooters, all that has increased. And they need to be, even the vendors need to be cognizant that they are not, they're providing bins for not littering the space. They are educating their customers who are coming to them to even not block the road, because I've seen so many times they come to a vendor to pick up something and they just park however they want. So yes, it's good for the vendor that there's a lot of footfall, but I think it's a responsibility on their part also to be cognizant of how they behave around in their premise, so that it doesn't cause inconvenience to other people. So there has to be a well balance of educating them. Even I do agree with the auctioning fact that it should not be there. That's why I said like a lottery system, more in terms of like the ratings system, what they were saying, right? Give them points. So that would probably work better. So still 3, but with some changes here and there, which benefits the vendors and the traders as well. and help the growing communities, because road widening is important. We have seen in so many areas of Bangalore that, or any city for that matter, the moment there is development, the road starts become narrower, the traffic increases. So even for an emergency or even for a normal commute, if you want to go, it will take, instead what used to take 10 minutes will take you 20 minutes today, right? So I think considering all of this with some adjustments and education to a lot of other parties involved, 3 would be a better option to go with.
Okay. So we have now groups that are still on 1, and we have groups that are on 3. And there are in-groups that are sort of switching, but we will not consider that for now. Can the 1s convince the 3s or the 3s convince the 1s? Or is there anybody who's changing their mind?
Sorry, I'm just going to take a minute and read out the situation once more, right? Based on the complaints and nuisance by traders, mini merchants, street vendors in an old neighborhood have been evicted. They're already evicted by the City Development Authority. The area will now be used for widening its roads. We are not saying that we are going, they're already evicted. We are trying to make the best of a bad situation here. We are not saying no street vendors at all. We are not telling them ban, right? We are saying let's at least develop the roads. The roads can be reclaimed by street vendors once more. They're already evicted. If we are going to give it back to them, let us at least give them a better infrastructure, right? The flea market can happen first. We can find out places where these flea markets can happen. Sorry, just let me finish, right? I feel the economic bits are like your thing. So I'm just like looking at the implementation of schemes. So yeah, we can set up a flea market first and then slowly think about how the street vendors can make it back to a better, wider road.
I'll try to make a case for Manjana. So the thing is, you also need public support. We have good public support. So in our constituency, we have Lakshmamma, who has been vending flowers, and we have been going as one of the fellow citizens from the ward. I've been going and buying flowers from Lakshmamma for the past 30, 40 years. And then now you're going to be disrupting the whole system, bringing in someone else, who doesn't belong to that system right now. You're going to be displacing people by doing that auctioning and whatever variations of auctioning. I would pull you towards option 1 because I think we are thinking option 1 but saying other options. So I would urge you to consider option 1 and look at the parameters. See, we also have the merchants.
They don't auction. If you leave them, they don't fight anywhere.
Yeah. So Manjana, it makes sense for Manjana to be on option 1. Also, I will appeal to the professors because we also have accountability as a common thread. So definitely we want to make it more accountable by giving them those certificates. So I would urge both Nanjappa, Manchappa and the professors to reconsider because I think philosophically you're thinking option 1.
Them who are saying about accountability, see the problem is based on complaints of nuisances by traders. So these traders, they are paying the rent and taxes for the shops that they are in, and the vendors are not paying any, tax or for establishing their space in that area. So I don't think so. There is transparency and accountability in whatever the point that you are saying.
I would like to add to that. Option 3 is the most balanced approach because it preserves the right of the people to drive on the road. It also preserves the right of the street vendors to sell. And the customer, talking about the customer base, who is the customer base of the street vendors? Is it the people who walk by the street because they cannot drive currently? Who walk on the street, if they are price sensitive, they can go to the nearby zone that we are working on with the neonetas to set up a zone nearby, near the street. But if there is no car passing by, if only the price-sensitive customer base is passing by, the shop owners there don't even have any chance of selling to these price-sensitive customer base. So it is taking away, option 1 is taking away rights of the shop owners and of the people who want to drive on the road directly.
Bangalore is such a beautiful, like, walkable city. And if you make it a car driving city, I think it'll lose its charm. The people who live in the area will have such a hard time
Okay.
trying to shop at their affordable shops. They're going to make it unaffordable.
This is where the, hang on. So this is where the give bit comes in. So all of you are getting these bags with 10 tokens in them. They're called influence tokens. You can essentially influence the system, as it were. I keep the tokens in the bag. We're doing, everybody gets one, you guys also get one, so you have a say in governance, as it should be, as it has become. And so the idea is that we'll do a blind auction, since there is no consensus between all of you. You can still sort of argue to say that like people switch sides and so on and so forth, but essentially it's a blind auction. You can give a minimum of 3 tokens and a maximum of 10, because that's what you have in your bag. You will not get new tokens after this, so you'll, for the rest of the game, you'll have to hold on to the same number of tokens, right? So it's a blind auction. So the other teams don't know how many tokens you've given, and I will take the tokens from you, and then I will count. And whoever gives the highest number of tokens will win. Essentially, will have their opinions heard in that sense, and we will proceed in that sense. So it's the only time we don't do consensus, because you have all decided not to agree with each other. So you can, but I'm going to take from one group. And I will still get a maximum of 10 tokens only. So you can do between yourselves whatever you do, but I can take only a maximum of 10. So I will take a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 10. You guys have to decide if you feel strongly enough about option 3 or option 1. You can give me a minimum of 3, maximum of 10 tokens. And if your bid is the highest, then I proceed with your option.
Got it.
Done. I've got bid from one group. We have received one bid. You have 30 seconds to bid again. Are you all bidding?
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Citizens. Wait, hang on. Your bid went through.
But it's the same option that's going forward.
Option 3, right?
Option 3.
Yes. So the next morning, purchase push carts in peril. 20-year-old street vendors evicted, greater revenue and gentrification to follow. Economic growth has gone up, transparency and accountability has taken a hit, public support remains unaffected, and government stability rises. Because the plan of the government has been implemented. Yeah. See, the government stability has gone up, transparency and accountability has taken a hit, public support remains the same. Economic growth, I think, has gone up a little bit back to its original situation. Yes. Situation 3. In a move to establish the country as a global AI hub, the government has promised to establish a data center in a prime location of a metropolitan city. Mysore, we're coming for you. It has allocated government-owned land for this, evicted slum dwellers who have been staying there for the last 3 years. Government says they will be rehabilitated. Your options are, the state government argues that bringing data centers is critical to become the hub for global tech innovation, bringing in additional revenue and new opportunities. They say that these data centers will also generate many livelihood opportunities. Support their decision to evict the slum dwellers from prime land and relocate them and start the expansion. Civil society, option 2. Civil society organizations representing the evicted slum dwellers argue that rehabilitation will displace slum dwellers far from the city, where they earn their livelihoods. The organizations claim that none of the slum dwellers will be eligible for jobs at the data center. Support their demand to reserve a portion of the land for in situ rehabilitation of the slum dwellers and preference in employment for them at the data center. Option 3, environmentalists argue that constructing a data center in prime land will lead to the depletion of the city's already strained water and energy resources. Support their demand to roll back the construction and use the space for setting up sustainable green IT park to generate employment without draining the city's resources. You have 30 seconds. I am willing to accept influence tokens right away.
Being the magistrate of implementation and being part of the government mechanism to see that implementation do happen. The consensus of the government and how they have arrived at this is a larger portion of things. I assume that the magistrate receives a memo or a thing from the government that it is thinking like that, and it's your duty to implement. From this point, we think an option 2 makes sense, where there is a dialogue still available, where the option 1 is too like dictatorial in a lot of ways. So there is a respect and ear still available to listen to the ground, saying that what is it. And as a magistrate, it is a duty to engage with the public social organizations, different groups, hear them out, and probably find a middle ground which has the land kind of identity to the people who have already stayed there, but also keep the development in mind in some sense.
On my behalf, I think it's option 3 because of the depletion of the risk to the depletion of the resources. And with option 2, I have 2 concerns. One is that it will displace the slum dwellers far from the city. That means it's going to impact their livelihoods and their families' livelihoods for generations, likely. And the second thing is that none of the slum dwellers will be eligible for jobs at the data center, which means that they get to stay there. They get to stay there, but they will not be eligible for jobs.
Question in option 3, what happens to the slum dwellers in that case?
They get in situ rehabilitation, at least portion of it.
Yeah, but I think broadly speaking, a general consensus of citizens, if I were to speak for the group, is that depletion of resources is surely not the best way forward. Yeah.
So option 3 then? Yeah.
We are also going with option 3. We want to take a more holistic look about not just the current, but also for the future. We are trying to say that, yes, there is a need for some kind of an intervention to happen. The slum dwellers will be rehabilitated, but we will also do it in a holistic manner where we are trying to balance out the economic concerns, the civil society concerns, and as well as economic concerns of the intervention that needs to happen.
Also, the government is accountable for the limited resources in the city. So I think this is the only way to make the government accountable as well, option 3.
One final point is that option 3 is the only one that is considering the environmentalists and the environment. None of the other options are, so yeah.
Yeah, so for us, it would be option 2, because we are merchants, we would want to promote economic growth and government stability. Keeping the data center as well as making sure that we do have a continuous supply of cheap labors. As a Basha, I would want that. And yeah, I don't believe in the green IT park. So we don't believe in green IT park, theme, which is basically, again, cutting down most of the...
You color the IT park green and it becomes a green IT.
I think we don't have a consensus, but we are leaning between 3 and 2. But I personally feel that water depletion is the most critical problem across. And we can't live without water. We can live without computers or IT or, I mean, we can't live without technology. But I think in terms of priority, water comes first and then comes the rest.
So option 3.
You guys were 2.
2.
3. And Janta was also 3.
You can bid now. Consensus or influence, one of the two. Majority, we're not going with might.
The third one doesn't say that the slum dwellers will get any job. There is nothing mentioned. It just says generating employment without draining cities' resource. I mean, in option 2, at least there is a demand for the land that these people been staying. It could be done in an efficient way. How much efficient? It's between us. And there is a demand for the employment of the slum dwellers in the data center. So these two things becomes kind of a goal for people working on ground, saying that, okay, you stood for this, now see that the land is being used and they have the representation, and also there's a job opportunity which is close to them in a sense. Yes.
But the slum dwellers who've been staying there for 3 years don't vote for you. They don't. You are.
The thing to understand is we are magistrates and we get memos and things from the government to implement. So our job is to see that there is a consensus within the government. That is their problem to decide. So we can engage the government through for that discussion.
But
so magistrates
already we are struggling with water every summer. There's no monsoon now, and then you want to put
that
up
doesn't
an AI center.
Green Park doesn't ensure water stability or water quality or anything. There is no guarantee of that at all. It's just words. Green is a word. Sustainable is a word. They're being abused and they've been, not being implemented on the ground as all. So, what is the right of the people who already stayed there on the land? And if a new development comes, as she said, cheap labor, but there's a requirement for labor. And if they have a land close to it and they have a right for that land, it's a give and take in some sense.
AI data centers don't generally hire a lot of people. It is just machines working and security guards. But AI, on the other hand, Green IT Park employs a lot of people for staff, for security, and even for other tasks as well. Number 1. Number 2, AI data centers objectively consume more water than Green IT Park.
Yeah, I had the same point that the water usage of Green IT Park versus the water usage of data center will be tremendously different and huge. The data parks will consume a huge amount of water. And even if you give employment to people, their basic necessities will still be at stake, like water. How are they going to pay? They can't pay for tankers, right? Rich people can still pay for tankers. So there will be still an imbalance. And even if you improve employment, their basic necessities are not going to be catered to. So
an AI hub will improve not just that locality's livelihood, but the country's other technology-related growth. And especially for other industries and manufacturing units, it's a big push. So please look at the larger economic growth for the country rather than just in that one particular locality. Yes, your supporters, last round also you did wrong decision and accountability went down. At least now make a right decision for the country.
We're not taking arguments anymore, we're taking bids. Bidding has begun. One group has already bid.
Guys, 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Hang on. We have from the nodal DM.
Nodal DM. Janta nodal DM.
Ah. Neoneta's bid. I think this is the citizens' bid. Hang on, you get your money back in whatever form. You get your influence tokens back. The nodal DMs went through. Okay. Protests. Pushback lead to accommodation on prime land, land to be partly reserved for in-situ rehabilitation of slum dwellers, job reservations for residents at new data centers. Economic growth is up, transparency and accountability takes a hit, public support rises, and government stability takes a hit. Situation 4. City metro authorities plan to build a tunnel under a Parsi fire temple. Entrance to the temple will be restricted during the construction period. Government has offered to relocate the temple and pay for its reconstruction. Option 1. Metro authorities argue that the tunnel is important to improve public transport accessibility for people in nearby areas. The state plans were already finalized 4 years ago. Support their decision to build the station next to the fire temple. Option 2, Parsi representatives argue that they were not consulted during the planning process. Construction right under the compound will take away the sanctity of the temple and also hinder access for the foreseeable future. Support their demand for reinitiating public discussions and realignment of the route. Option 3, activist groups argue that the government should not get involved in matters of religious expression and will violate secular principles by financing the temple's reconstruction. Support their demand against government accommodation for the fire temple and to continue construction as planned. So our options are, support their decision to build the station next to the fire temple, or reinitiate the public discussion and build new plans, or I think option 3 is still to construct the temple as the metro as is. Huh?
So we're deciding to go with option 2 because I feel like we feel like it supports the group of people that are most affected by this, and it opens up discussions with the community about things that need to be rearranged. Yeah.
Option 2 sounds stupid because
Strong opinion.
If plans were finalized 4 years ago, why didn't we hear those voices coming up back then and start asking us to start all over again from zero? So I'll go either with 1 and 3, which is not much of a difference either way, because the only difference is paying for movement of the temple. If we are talking about a tunnel project, which will be easily, I don't know, based on some hypothetical numbers, 30,000 crores, movement of the temple will be much, much lesser. So peanuts. So hardly matters. I can go either way.
We, as traders, we require our employees to be using the metro, and we completely support the metro construction. But given that a lot of Parsi community members are also into trading and business, we support their sentiments, and we are standing in solidarity. So we will take option 2.
Yeah, we are going with option 2. But we want to broad base this because it seems like it was finalized. It seems like a top-down decision. The route was finalized, but we don't know if it was put out in the public. We want them to put it out in the public, let there be discussions, and then you can realign the route. So we're going with option 2, holding the government accountable.
Okay, we're going with option 1 because in the option 2, there's an assumption of like the entire public discussion, but it could just be a discussion with just the Parsi representatives. Then it's like supporting just one particular group of people. So that's exclusivity. And that's not a complete public stance. And also in the option 1, the larger public is gaining the accessibility. And it's under the compound. It doesn't say it's a destruction of current place itself. No, but public discussion. No, it says under the compound will take away the sanctity of the temple. So we're still talking about the sentiment of the religion. We're not talking about disrupting an environment.
I think if we go with option 2, Parsis are also, they're flexible, they're bright, they're business people. They will show us way to a place where it is a negotiated thing. So entry should be with option 2.
I think previous bad decisions by everybody has led to reducing transparency and the public support. I think it's time we kind of increase our indicators on that, and it's important that we get continued solidarity and support from the people. Even if we want to construct the metro line, it will have to be consultative. And I'll disagree with with Manjana. That temples over metros, metros over temples. I think both has its place. We need spirituality along with mobility.
If you go by the numbers, there are 800 Parsis in Bangalore, and the recurring thing of, I'll get in, please. Yeah. Okay, I'm assuming it's Bangalore, no? Or in general, if that is the, no, let me relax. So, so if that is the demography of in Bangalore, you have an 800 Parsis, and there is sentiments, I get it. But in a larger form of development, you have to consider a larger sort of usage of a facility in a sense. So the plan is there for 4 years in a sense. The negotiation should have happened. The representation should have come to the government and put their points forward. And I think it is too late.
It's saying support their decision to build the station next to the fire temple. So anyway, people who will be coming to the temple, having a metro station close to the temple will be an ease for them, right?
Group 1 wants to change our option. Yes. We don't care about public consultation. We want option 1 actually. Just do away with all this drama and this. Yeah, we are into exporting and we don't want to get into all of this. So we'll just go with option 1.
I think if we do not look at the thoughts and feelings of minorities, we're not doing well as a government. And if your opinion is government will not do well, I think you should rethink your ideas.
Yeah, and option 2 doesn't say there'll be no metro, right? It says there'll be realignment. So it's not like it's not 1 or 0. There'll be discussion, there'll be realignment of the route. You are looking at multiple interests and you want to understand what those multiple interests are and then realign. Nobody is saying there'll be no metro. So it's not a either or. It is how you arrive at a decision based on the best possible consensus.
No, then it'll become like the Ijipura flyover where we just have it and then realignment will never.
You sat on it for 4 years anyway. What is a few more months?
So we have two groups for option 1 and 2 groups for option 2. And Janta? 1? What is the...
The Janta is majorly aligned on 1, broadly. But there are parts of us who also believe in 2. Because it's also important to, while of course there are 4 years have been given, but then you know how bureaucracy works, right? Those plans were put up in some office 4 years ago and for all of you to see. But in reality, no one knows about those, and it never, so it's important to understand sentiments, and it's important to, also for me, one question that I also had was, reconstruction, will it be on the same site?
I don't know.
As per the situation 4?
Should be discussed, which will take 10 more years.
Right. So that means even though the temple, even if the temple comes back in the place, but since there's a metro running under it, that takes away its sanctity. Okay, yeah. Possible. I mean, you can't argue with that. Sure, fair. But citizens are broadly aligned on 1, but some of us also believe in considering 2 as an important factor.
So, yeah. Bids, not arguments. Not bidding.
Okay, the bid is open. We have a bid from the neonatas.
Okay, mini merchants gave me 11 for some reason. You can only bid 10.
I can take one.
Yeah. So we have a deadlock.
We have a deadlock.
We can take the 11th one.
I can't take the 11th one.
There's a max.
There is a max limit of 10. So we give you another minute to convince the other side. You have to figure, how do you convince? So, since we don't have a consensus, and also in honor of yesterday, we'll go with what the Janta feels as their bid is.
So we go with option 2.
Yes. Okay. So, economic growth takes a hit, transparency and accountability is at a high, public support takes a hit, government stability takes a hit. Yeah, okay. So, with that, we come to an end of the game. None of you meet your targets. And we have a new preamble to the Constitution. Would one of you like to read it?
We, Basha, professors Manjana, Jere, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, secular democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, political, liberty of thought, expression, faith, worship, equality of status, and to promote among all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual, the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th of July 2026, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution.
So, how do we feel about this preamble?
I think one good thing is it's more realistic about our current state of affairs. Neither are we economically growing, very highly political, whether it's good or bad. Yeah, status, correct. No opportunity. So it's grim reality. We want to accept it.
Traders will actually have a better say because the markets, I think, have a better say. It did not fully showcase that. It did not reflect that completely. And all the professors are to be blamed. They did not. Their scientific thinking should have improved economic growth. Rather, it's...
In the past 1 month, I have not thought about being a magistrate at all with the things of affairs in the country. For brief 2 hours, it's such a enlightening thing to be a magistrate and see what are the moral consequences of the decision making. We were constantly discussing that an activist at heart and someone who has to implement something which has been got on our table. So very interesting. My neck is hurting slightly a bit, but yeah, I'll take this home.
It was interesting how collectively we made the government more stable. So yeah, it just shows like what our preferences lie, where we are always trying to be in a median, and we don't like to polarize ourselves, and that is reflective, I think, of the government and of us as citizens. So yeah.
I'm just saying, until the first question, we all were on concern because we didn't know how to play the game until the first question. The moment the second question came, we were like, oh, wait, we need to prioritize ourselves. They said 800 parsees. They said, hey, there's economic growth. So that was very fun. And yeah, we'll take the hit on behalf of professors. But also the funny part was the moment this came in, we were like, okay, our points don't matter. This is what matters. So let's just use these. But yeah, fun game.
No, I mean, the question of like constitutional values, how does that play out, or how did that play out in how you were thinking about decision making in these questions?
Yeah, I think like some of the decisions, most of the decisions we took were not necessarily in public interest, but also showing that it's in public interest. So doing something which is balanced, but actually showing it, I think, was more important. That's why that political justice has remained, but social and economic has been cut off. So, I mean, that is a reflection.
Dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation, that in the same line kind of encapsulates one at the bottom or one end of the spectrum and the other end of the spectrum. So I guess in between, whatever discussions we have is fruitful. That's how I would put it.
That's an excellent question, because while we were answering everything, the original preamble or the actual preamble came to my mind. So we are currently in a situation where, yeah, India's GDP is increasing and everything, and we are more than happy. But we know there's a certain population taking the hit every single day, right? So while we had a remarkable victory yesterday, there's still 2-3 more protests happening in different parts of India. They don't care about economic expansion. They don't care about anything, right? We also said in AP, we'll make a data center. There is a good chunk of population saying, hey, we don't want it. We don't care about our jobs or anything. We just want our land because it's close for us. So while we kept thinking about transparency and to an extent what you said about public is because, as you mentioned, dignity of the individual. We can make money back in the future. We'll figure a way out. But if your dignity of the individual keeps decreasing on a daily basis, 10 years later, when your economic growth is high, your individual is like, hey, we don't care anymore. So to lose that trust in the public will be the worst thing. So to take that decision on every question saying that, hey, we have to keep the public first, everything else comes second. And because the metro was such a good question, because there is a good chunk of population who want the metro because we want, but it's actually the city planning or the corruption of the city planning being like, hey, let's just make buildings everywhere, we'll figure out later, because you put the dignity of the individual second. We are currently in a situation where we are fighting against each other, where there should be just one entity we are fighting against. So dignity of the individual is always that comes first more than anything else. Yeah.
This exercise sort of brought to the fore that how beautiful this preamble was actually, I mean, and how difficult it is, because I know when we were taking decisions, we were also looking at practicality. I mean, is it working? It's not working. So let's go with this. And this is really aspirational. And I think we should work more towards making this true instead of trying to change it to suit our needs, is what I feel. I mean, governing a country like India is humongous. It's huge. And we've managed to survive for 80 years. And that's amazing. I mean, democracy is thriving and alive. I think we should just pat ourselves on our backs for this. This is amazing. Thank you, Ambedkar, and the Constituent Assembly.
Yeah, so when we were deliberating within the group members, there was a conflict within each of us. So there's a role that we've given to play, but each of us bring to the table our experiences. From our experiences, we have a voice, like a strong opinion. But routing that through the role that was assigned was a little hard. That's why you were giving 15 seconds, but the initial rounds would actually go further. That was really phenomenal to experience as well. And I was actually thinking about the preamble today morning, right? Because we were going to go forth with this exercise. I was like, okay, what does it not have? And I was like, okay, it's got voices of the people, but not voice of the land, not voice of the trees, not voice of the living beings, not represented in, not putting a vote. Just because we humans put a vote doesn't mean that they're not represented. That shouldn't be the way. Also, equity is missing. But even though it's practiced, I think equity is missing. Yeah, but yeah, that's my few cents on it. Thank you.
I think it was really interesting to see the consequences of all the decisions we were making pan out in ways that we didn't think that it would. I think that was very interesting about the game, because a lot of times we don't think, oh, this decision that the government takes is going to, affect these people, or this is going to make something cost more, so like someone else is going to get displaced, and like the spending that each person ends up doing is going to be more. and that means only a certain status of people can shop at a certain place or something like that. So I think it was a really interesting look into things that we take for granted, that we like pass by our day like without really thinking too much about.
It's a direct answer to the question that you asked, like, what do I feel about this constitution that we have come up with? It's upsetting for me that we don't have social and economic justice. It is very upsetting that we don't have equal opportunity. So the decisions that we tried to do, I thought we were trying to be socially equitable. I thought we were trying to be economically equitable, but we aren't. And I think those are the questions I will take back from this, that why I think that I'm doing it, but it's actually not translating. So I want to understand where that gap lies.
I'll just like add one, I already spoke, I'll add one point. He made an excellent point about how there's always a self-conflict. I was wondering if I was in that group and with the metro question, if I had said option one, no, the metro comes first, no, the money comes first, I couldn't be able to live with myself. But that's what, right? Like, if I was in that group, that really hurt me. But while this is a game, I also kept realizing, I'm pretty sure to an extent this is how decisions are also made at the center. I'm pretty sure somebody in that 36, 37 group will be like, yeah, I'll give you a little more under the table. Can you just get this done, right? On my side. I'm pretty sure that's how made at the center as well. The fact that we have to live with it every day, like, oh, those 13, 36, 37 people will figure it out for us and we'll wait it out. So that will eat me up now, after this game more. Yeah.
Just adding to what he was trying to point out, right? Even when, as a merchant, I was just looking into it, in that character. But calling out someone as a cheap labor, because it is something beneficial for me. But when I look at myself, even in real life, I'm an IT, I work in IT, and I'm a cheap labor for a foreign investor, right? So when I look in that sense, obviously, I don't know how things will have to balance it out in every situation, because there are times when certain indicators, as was pointed out over here, would be dominating the other indicators. And that's how, but somehow I think the existing constitution, people somehow don't really appreciate that to an extent, because they somehow try to balance things out. It's not perfect, it has to keep changing. That is something I think life is all about, right? Change is inevitable. And that's, what we all have to acknowledge and maybe try to bring that balance in our lives.
I don't think there's a version where you don't scratch out any of the words. Even if you play the game in the sense that I have a controversial take, you can't have all of them together. You can't have, whatever situation I take in, something will go wrong. Maybe with something, But,
with different groups, different values come through.
Yeah,
so.
but all of them together, I'm not sure.
I have a better question. If it wasn't consensus driven and it was majoritarian in its frame, how do you think it would have gone? Can we go back Do you think it would have been different? Do you think it would have been...
The opportunity of dialogue would have been much less. It would always be majority driven. It would be simple. Your decisions would be faster. But would it be holistic? Would you have the patience to listen to the opposite side? I don't think so. As in, it would be very less. That opportunity of dialogue would be less.
Not that we changed our minds based on the talks we had. We all stuck to our... Yeah. I mean, what emerged for me was there was a lot of practicality that came, idealism was set aside. This is aspirational, so it's the sign of our times, I guess. I don't know.
I was going to ask, the Janta is very quiet today.
No, I just have a question. This exercise was very absorbing and engaging. I'm just trying to understand, I'm curious about, what are your hopes with convening these kind of exercises and circles? Is it to leave us thinking and be a better voter, develop more empathy for our decision makers, or anything else that you have observed? Because this is really useful right now, but what do you want us to leave with?
What do we want you to leave with? the value of this activity is the conversations that we've had today in a great way, right? Like the reason why this game exists is that we don't have conversations around constitutional values in a space in our daily lives in some sense. And a game like this sort of helps encourage that, to say, are we really thinking about what is happening around us from a value perspective or from sort of individual agendas, or what is the sort of root of our decision making or our participation in democracy in some sense. And that's kind of how this game came about, is that we were all, I mean, as workers in the civil society in some sense, I think you have this conversation as an aside of saying this is essentially the nature of where we want the country to go. This is how we want people to participate in governance. We need more dialogue between actors. We need more sort of negotiation between people and everything. And to your question of how do you sleep at night thinking about money over whatever, I think it's, if you really look at choices, in a lot of times it's not based on, like, the decision making is a luxury at some point, right? You're sort of instinctively working, saying, I need to survive for X, Y, Z, and therefore those are my choices in some sense. And there's a history of like choosing against your own self-interest because of social pressures and because of whatever. And so the idea of a game like this is basically to be able to remove from that situation and have that dialogue with people without really necessarily beating each other up, though there's also some entertainment value to that. I am disappointed that you guys are too nice to each other in the beginning of the game. I hope you take that back. Yes, and with that, we conclude the game portion of this thing. Thank you for playing along. And thank you, Creative Mornings, for organizing this. This was very fun.
Likewise, I was about to say that to you guys. But I'm glad that question came up from the Janta, because their only request was, we'll not talk. We'll make everyone else talk, and we successfully at least nudged a little bit. Although I think we have a little bit of time, like a few minutes here post the session. If you guys want to ask questions, the whole team is here, so we'll keep it offline, but we need to also, we have the reality of like wrapping up at the venue, so we need to do that. But thank you all for participating and being such great, participants. And I don't know if after this you will go ahead and fight, or you will catch up for lunch with people that you've met through the session. And reflect. I, for one, will definitely reflect more on the decisions that were taken. Thank you, and we'd like to hand over a small token of our gratitude to the team.
Actually, can all of the Fields of You team come here? This is, like all of you. I have done this the whole day. I am no longer speaking.
Thank you, guys.